Hello, and thank you for attending SAGE Alerts and Workflow video-based training. Please note that this is video-based training, and content is for training purposes only and intended for new and existing SAGE Alerts and Workflow customers.
Hi, this is Russ Lesko. Welcome to another training video on how to design and configure alert and automation events. Today we're going to look at submitting a SQL statement that would actually update a database table or insert information into a database table as a deliverable action. We're going to look at our ERP2 application that we have been using for other training videos. When I come down into the events that we have for this, I do have one that deals with late accounts receivable invoices. So to go into it, I'm using a query that is interrogating an accounting ERP system, and we're producing results as far as customers who have late AR. Keep in mind that you can always go into your query and make changes as you are working on using this query into an event. You might want to add additional filters in the case of AR, late invoices, perhaps another threshold than that you may want to use based on the event you are creating. So that you have access to, in addition to being able to get to the trigger from up here as well, since it is a query. Now, under the deliverables side of this, we're going to open up our plus sign and come over here to the right, and we're going to go into one of the actions that the alert and automation tool can take, and that's going to be to submit a SQL statement. Now, before I go further, I would recommend that people that are not familiar with creating SQL or transact SQL types of statements, that they defer from actually trying to use this tool as a training tool for that. I would suggest that there's a whole host of different training options available to you to learn more about transact SQL statements, and I think it would be best that you would pursue perhaps a few of those other avenues for training. But in any event, I'm going to come down here into Submit SQL. What I essentially want to do is that customers, the query that is working is going to pick customers or find customers who have late invoices as with a certain age, perhaps, of a certain number of days. I want the alert and automation tool to use the trigger to trigger those cases where those delinquent invoices exist. And since I'm going to maybe put in some extreme sorts of numbers, I am going to want the system to actually put the customer on hold. And so that ERP system, my ERP system in this case, does have a field that would put a customer on hold. So coming over here to adding a row, and we open up, basically a query editor that is going to be fairly easy to use, but again, I still believe you're going to need a certain underlying knowledge of doing transact SQL statements. Just like we did in creating the application event itself, we're going to create and use the connection that already exists to a database, and I'm going to choose the table in my accounting system that stores the customer master record. It would actually store the status of the customer, so that is going to be the field that we are going to use in order to put the customer on hold. So just going to come down and make that selection here. go. And you'll see here that we are looking at some additional information that's been filled in here that's going to help you in terms of building this SQL statement and give you, a lot of different flexibility that you can use. The fields over here are going to be the fields that are coming from my trigger, which are the actual query itself. And I'll probably be looking for a field that might be one that's going to look at the age, okay, of an invoice. And then over here are going to be the fields that are fields from the table that I just selected up here. And in this ERP system, we would be looking at a field called blocked. And that would be the field that would be updated in order to complete the SQL statement. Now, even if you're not as fluent with, even if you are very fluent, incidentally, with Transact SQL statements, there are some sample statements here that should still give you some assistance. The actual SQL statements, update statements we're going to be looking at are these two here, which would be insert statements. That means we are appending a record, okay, to add a line or something to a SQL table. And if we're going to update one or more records that are already in SQL, we would be using the update statement. And once you click on this, it basically puts the statement over here. And then it's very easy, again, with your familiarity of SQL statements, that you would be able to select your table name, which is really right up here, and the column, which would be the blocked column, and we would be updating it to the value that would indicate that the blocked field has in fact been activated for a particular customer. And that could be the where statement. Keep in mind here that in the alert and automation tool, we are always going to need a where statement. So the where statement is necessary, or you run the risk of potentially updating all your records when in reality you just really want to update the only just the customer records. So that would be likely built into your statement as well. That is generally the process. And you have this tool here, you have this editor here that's going to make it very easy. You're again looking at the fields that have been returned from your trigger or from your query. You're looking at the fields that are part of the table that you have defined here as the table that is going to be updated. And you can continue to add more rows if your statement is going to be more complex and doing a number of different updates as opposed to just one. It would be added, and then you can go add another one, as you can see, and you would now have another deliverable in addition to the one here that's an email, and that would be the submit SQL statement. By the way, in prior videos we have stressed how you can use the begin, repeat, and begin, end part of the actual statement itself. And even though it appears here in a SQL statement, it of course should not be used because again, you're not going to want to be repeating anything here. You're only going to want to update the record once. You're only going to want to, in this case, put the customer on hold just once, so there's no really need to repeat on that, especially if you have multiple records. So just make sure there are no begin repeats or begin ends, anywhere in your SQL statement. You can also have the statement. You can have another statement here that could update or perhaps launch a stored procedure. So that could be part of your SQL statement, and with your connection and everything, and you can run that stored procedure as just another statement to submit from the alert and automation tool. So that's how you would put together a SQL statement to submit a SQL statement as a deliverable with the alert and automation tool. Thank you for your time and good luck with alert and automation of creating SQL statements.
Thank you for attending Sage Alerts and Workflow video-based training.